So now that Envy have officially dropped Poppin, Rankers is dead. He was the last remaining member of that beloved Rankers team that made up Envy, and now all 5 of them are gone. And just the other day, Poppin tweeted out a whole chapter book worth of words, basically thanking his teammates, thanking Envy, thanking Rankers, all that jazz. But there was one part of this tweet to me that really stood out, that really that spoke to me, and it was in this first tweet where he's talking about like how the team came to be and everything, and I'll just read it to you. This year's result was a culmination of a lot of bad decisions from a lot of different parties, so please don't send hate toward anyone. It was a tale as old as time. What started as a couple friends enjoying a game they loved slowly became a corporate work environment. So many of the things that led us to win last year got changed under the pretense of this is tier 1. We can't do things the same way. This slowly soured me. I was complicit. I let these things change, and that's one of the biggest lessons I learned this year. If you aren't adamant about your opinion, it'll get overlooked. Keep pushing until you get what you need. And I'm kind of under the same impression that Rankers never really got to flourish and try out their play style until that last MIBR versus Envy game where they just dominated the America's 1 seed. Now, was that game a fluke? Was MIBR just taken off guard? I guess we'll never know because Rankers never got to try their version of Tier 1. Now, the match before MIBR was actually won against G2, and I believe this game is a good demonstration of Envy not looking as comfortable when forced to play agents that they don't play in ranked. And starting with this round, you're going to see just that. Envy are splitting B in a 1-4, while G2 are fighting Mount as 3 with this pretty cool Viper wall. It's good for retaking B, it's good for fighting B main, it's good for fighting Mount. It's a pretty solid wall. But you're going to see as the round progresses, the offense, they walk out of rubble. Vice opens the door to threaten that the defense are fighting this, but the offense walk right by, right? Not a big deal. And I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit. And you're going to see that Envy eventually decide to split through Secret. And G2 in reaction decide to push down Mound, right? They lose a bunch of stuff on A. They make up for it by taking a bunch of space on C. Now, unfortunately for Rossi, he's going to get his wall triggered, right? And when his wall gets triggered, this is where things get a little hairy for Envy, right? A beautiful Omen Paranoia that clogs up a lot of the lane, right? First off, from Valen. This Paranoia clogs up so much, even gets to the entrance of B, I'm pretty sure. If we go back just a little bit, right? Yeah, it gets to the entrance. It's also for Viper to like peek out from door, and it's also to clear this front part. This was like a beautiful Paranoia. But once you lose a lot of map control in this game, just like G2 did, you need to make it up by taking something else. So Envy, in response, decide to take Waterfall. But watch the difference of how G2 took Mound and B main versus how Envy take Waterfall, because I don't think Envy are as confident. They're just not. They don't look as coordinated as G2, and maybe someone should be joining Raze and Neon, like a third person, to ensure that they get extra map control and an extra kill somewhere. But what's going to happen is like they start looking at Waterfall, Neon peek spawn, and then Raze peeks back to B main, so he can do some C's nade trap with his fade. But then by that time, Neon is left on her own, and then Raze is left on her own, and now it's a 4 versus 2, and Omen the entire time hasn't been doing anything, but he doesn't know that no one's going through Secret, so I guess it's not really his fault. But what I'm saying is this indecisiveness to either fight B main or go into spawn cost Envy a pivotal pistol round. Neon was on her own, Raze was on her own, and now as I play the round, you're going to see that these two just don't stand a chance. And compared to G2, they haven't lost a member for almost this entire retake. So the difference between Envy playing a ranked comp like they did against MIBR versus what they're doing here is just night and day. Now, I talked about this on the main channel in the Envy versus MIBR video, but when you have players on comfort agents, they are more comfortable making the right play in certain situations, and you're going to see that here. So Envy are going to go C, and G2 in the meantime are in a pretty spread 2-2-1 where Fade's going to get info on A, and these two are going to fight for Mound, and they're just going to base the rotates based off of the information they get. They're not really fighting, they're just kind of playing for info. They have a bonus. I'm sure they want to like stack the right side and all that jazz with their bad weapons. But regardless, Envy are going to start the round by taking C pretty heavily, and this Haunt isn't going to tag anything. So the defense know that there's not a whole lot of A pressure, if any at all, and Viper doesn't hear anything, and this Prowler just goes through B. So the defense know for a fact that A is clear, B is clear, that means it kind of has to be C. So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward just a little bit. So Envy are creating a lot of pressure outside C. They want to like make sure that they're getting rid of all the Sentinel utility. They're breaking all the Thorns. And if I run a little bit, you'll see that there aren't any here, just a flash. But regardless, Envy spent a lot of time trying to break some Vice utility that never exists. And eventually, you're going to see that they make their way into C site. Also, keep in mind earlier, actually, no, I think it's going to happen in a second. Yeah. You're going to see that the defense tap the door, right? And because the Vice wall is over on A, this is a big problem for Envy, because now this means that when this door opens, there's a solid chance that defenders have pushed their way down mound and are going to pinch the space with these door players. Because normally when you fight door, you want to have pressure coming from somewhere else, whether if it's site or main. You don't just want to like open this and just fight it on your own, because it's a little weird you're going to get peeked from like 10 bajillion different off angles. So in Envy's mind, they kind of need more space, because in their head, they can be flanked with how bad this Vice wall is, right? So how do they fight for more space? Well, that's a good question. Well, you're going to see that they don't really take any, right? They're just like four clumped like a bunch of chickens, like a bunch of sheep. They're being herded like a bunch of sheep. You know, Sheep Detective. Me and Jess are watching that right now, and we're spamming, right? We're trying to make space, but when the defense know that you're going C and they have the 5-stack here, they're either going to flood on you or spam the shit out of you to make sure that you can't get the spike down, especially if you're not creating pressure, you're not distracting them with duels or hitting them with suppressive fire or suppressive utility, right? And you'll see that when Fade tries to plant, G2 are going to bombard Envy's attempt to plant.
Anywhere, Envy. They are concerned about the flank because of the door. They have no space forward in halls. They're getting naded while trying to plant. It's just chalked, man.
Yeah, that might have been a C's nade combo there as well, if I'm not mistaken. Beautiful setup there for G2 on a dime.
And now while Envy are being pounded in the background, I have to ask you guys, if Demon 1, Kesnet, and Egster were on agents like Clove, Reyna, or Yoru, do you think that they would have been scared to make space, scared to take duels? You know, do you think they'd been sitting back here in elbow just all, you know, like a bunch of wimps? Of course not. No. So why not let these agents play their favorite agents? At least why not try it? Why did it take us until the very last match of the VCT Stage 1 part, where the match didn't even matter? Why did it take so long to let these kids play whatever they want? And now, I'm not saying that if Popwood was given the reins of the team that Envy were guaranteed success, but why not at least start the season by trying what got them this far, right? I feel like Envy didn't even do that. They just immediately went to boring Tier 1 play that everyone's so used to, right? And you're not going to beat Tier 1 veterans at playing a Tier 1 game, right? So why would Envy try to, like, match a Tier 1 game when that's, like, not their specialty? I don't know. I wasn't in their coach. I'm not their coach. I haven't been in the coaching room or whatever. I haven't been in their practices. Maybe they tried it and just didn't work as well. I don't know. We don't have a big sample size to go off of. We just know that they pounded MIBR. But regardless, Tier 1 has a lot of good players, and I'm not saying they were guaranteed to win anything if they played their Rankers playstyle, but whatever. So I'm going to go and skip ahead in this round a little bit. Envy start in this by default. Eventually they end towards C, and you're going to see that once Jogmo hears some noise being made, he decides to pop a showstopper, and Kesnet just bitch slaps Jogmo out of the air. Absolutely disgusting, takes him down. But just because Envy are up 5v4, that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to win the round, especially when you're playing against G2, who have arguably the best players in North America. So obviously, Leaf is stalling out the offense with his Snakebite, with his Poison Orb. He's letting the utility cycle, and by this time, Valiant has pushed all the way out of A. Vice is pushing B. They know that it has to be C, right? Envy eventually decide to take site, and Kesnet doesn't clear his close right with his rocket launcher. So, like I said, Envy are pounding site, and it just, I don't know. Again, it's not like Envy had the best players in the world, right? But mistakes like this can't happen in a Tier 1 scene. Regardless, ult gets wasted. Trade doesn't happen. But luckily for Envy, I do think Baby Bay opened this door a little too early before Omen was able to come help him. So Rossi is going to get the kill onto Baby Bay, and this creates a 3 versus 4. So you might be thinking, how do Envy possibly lose this? Well, you're going to be asking even harder now that Demon 1 kills Trent, who's trying to make a hero play now because his team is down a member, right? 2 versus 4. How exactly do Envy lose this? Well, they're going up against some very, very experienced and good players.
Just get a can. Either way, it's Leaf and Valen now. Have to salvage. Leaf is going to find 3 kills.
God.
Now we're even up. That's a scary prospect. Valen coming in now. It's going to be a double swing here, maybe over towards Waterfall.
If they can't even close this out, it feels like it's wraps. Actually, a disaster. 4-on-2 now into the 2-on-2. One player caught in sight. That's Rossi. The other playing out at Mound for the spam
What
angle.
is Leaf on, bro? What is he on? What a ridiculous...
Now, one of the biggest things that I hate is that when teams pick up and constantly drop players, like just all the time. And, I mean, in the span of just a couple months, Envy went from 5 friends competing to nobody, right? Like, it's a bunch of random players that they picked up off of free agency, right? And when you do things like that, it absolutely destroys chemistry that your team once had. Like, look at the minimap, look at closely. Demon 1 kills Trent, you know, who's trying to walk out of spawn and make a play. But then look at Extra right behind him, right? Had these players been playing for months and months and months, like Envy have, before they decided to drop everyone that got them there, maybe Extra isn't, or maybe Extra's following Demon 1 a little more closely, and they can double peek Leaf at the same exact time. Because look, if you look at the minimap, Omen, Extra goes a little bit towards this box, right? He's ready to play like a normal post plant, but Demon 1 wants to keep fighting. I mean, why? They're up 4 versus 2, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it doesn't matter. It's always better to make the wrong play together versus the right play separately, right? And that's what they're doing. So it's not like 2 separate, but like this little half second that Leaf has to hit this spray transfer onto Exter is what loses Envy this round. So how about we stop dropping players, especially the 5 that got us into franchising, and just let the original core play their game. So like I said, Envy don't look coordinated, and you're going to see more of it. So they're starting in a 1-3-1 while the defense are trying to get their Viper set up on C. The Viper realizes that no one's coming to hurt her, so Raze decides to leave. Both teams exchange probably on B. We see a Neon Wall exchange for a Fade Seas plus Thorns. Although all Envy wanted to do was bait up this wall. And as you can see, they did their job. Nice. There's the B default. Because Viper hasn't looked outside of C, there could be players here, right? So it spreads the defense out pretty thinly. And eventually, the offense decides to go up to Rubble. You know, everything's been so fine and dandy so far. That's not what I'm, like, concerned about. All right, and mid-round, G2 decides to open the door. We decide to Prowler front B. We're trying to get some form of read on where the offense are going. And because this Prowler doesn't to latch on to anybody, you're going to see Raze pick up B. You're going to see Fade pick up A, right? And I'm not sure if Valen saw anybody, but it doesn't really matter. That's not what I'm going to bitch about in a second. So, Envy are moving up. They're scaling up, and you're going to see Poppin throw a Prowler out, and it's going to latch onto this Vice sitting in this corner. Now, if you're playing a Raze, don't you think it would make sense to nade this guy out who's stuck deep committed into this corner? Or maybe we Omen Paranoia and slide at this guy, or double satchel at this guy. We don't have our satchels this round, and I don't know if we use them. I really hope we're not buying full armor over our satchels and shields. That's beside the point. Don't you think there's a better way to clear this guy out? Because what Envy decided to do is they all try to swing him, and then Vice's flash is going off, right, blinding them, and then Trent finds 2 through the smoke because nobody was left from B to hold it. So now it's a 5 versus 3, and if you keep watching, Envy just get absolutely dookied on. And this originally was a 3 versus 5, and only 1 of the 3 died, versus all 5 of these players died. So something clearly went wrong. And what was that? Well, if you look closely, you're going to see that Valen is peeking, obviously like help his teammate. He's trying to peek with his teammate's flash, right? That's up in this corner. But you're going to see that Demon 1 hits Valen with a stun to stop him from peeking, right? But then you're going to see in another second that Raze's nade is flying at the same position. And if these players had been playing for months together, I don't think they would have made this type of mistake. I think things would have been more coordinated. I don't know, man. It's just tough to see a team that has been... a team that genuinely was my favorite team in the franchise, like in all of ECT. They were my favorites, even over Paper X, over everybody. I don't know. It's a shame to like watch this back and think of like what could have been, right? I don't know. Maybe what I'm saying is hindsight with his nade and stun stuff, or throwing the nade into this cubby. But like, and you know, Trent got 2 through his smoke, right? But when you nade this guy out, you're naturally going to swing out wide, so you could kill this guy or spam him, right? Everybody can concentrate their firepower onto this one guy, and if you're in this angle, the guy from stairs can't spam you. I don't know. Maybe that's hindsight. I don't know. I'm sad, and I hate being sad. Now, I'm about to look real silly, because despite all my complaining of Envy have decided to come back, they go on a 5-round win streak to make the game 7-5, so it doesn't look too bad after starting down 7-0. But unfortunately, the problems continue in this half as well. So Envy are spread in a 3-1-1, and the attackers eventually, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip forward a little bit. They eventually decide to pressure Mount a little bit. They realize, yo, we don't want none of that. We don't want none of that. And they decide to join their Viper over on A. So as you can see, the attackers are getting ready to go. We see the smoke. We see Paranoia, right? We see a whole bunch of jazz, but as soon as Leaf gets cut off by this Vice Wall that G2 just did not expect, you're going to see them immediately pivot. And they're going to immediately pivot. They tap the door. Leaf hears all this running. He hears all this commotion. He's screaming, go B, go B, go B, go B. And in this next sequence, just watch how coordinated G2 are versus how Envy were in the previous rounds I showed you, right? So Envy are clearly on B, right, getting ready to defend this, but G2 realize that all the defense are here. The rotate between B and A isn't very long, so all of them, 4 players decide to go through Waterfall. Leaf stays back, tries to find a lurk, but look at how coordinated G2 are. Everybody's clumped up, everybody's swinging the same angles together, everybody's taking space together, they're moving as a pack, as a death ball, and it's like, what do you do if you're Envy, right? So, G2 obviously needs space, so they decide to push into spawn. Baby Bay tries to take flank, and a bunch of kills are happening. So, you can see that G2 have lost flank, they've lost Waterfall. The only map control they have left is spawn, right? And they do have a late Leaf lurk, but he's going to have to hurry up because his two buddies are about to get pushed. So, Trent's Haunt went through, got a couple scans, fights are going down, and this is what I'm talking about. This is where we start to see more just desynchronization, right? Exeter thinks that, hey, look, maybe we're getting ready to swing G2. Oh, we're getting ready to swing them, guys. Let's swing. Let's push spawn, everybody. One swings out, one stays in. Not exactly what you want to see. 3 versus 2. Okay, right? This is still winnable for Envy. They swing, right? They're swinging together, right? 2 versus 1. Trades went down, but damage was done. Now, I was going to play the round out for you, but just trust me on this one. There isn't a lot of, like, there's a ton of time left to defuse. Nobody needs to stick it. What instead Envy needs to do is fight together and make sure they can take down Leaf, who has full HP compared to their no HP, right? These guys are both body shot, even leg shot for Rossi, right? And I'm going to go ahead and play the round. Demo gets on the spike, and you're going to see that Leaf tries to spam. He gives away his position. Rossi goes down while Demon 1 is sticking the spike, and the spike doesn't even need to be, he doesn't need to get a half. Listen to it. I'm going to just listen.
The idea was good for G2, but the gunplay has to be there as well.
You don't even need to listen to it, actually. Look at the top of the screen. You'll see how fast it's beeping. So after this first shot gets taken, why don't we hop off the spike and fight this guy? You know what I mean? One of us is fighting, one of us is defusing. Again, you're not going to beat a team like G2 when you're not on the same page, if, like, ever, you know? So eventually Envy go down 10-6, and stupid decisions start to appear. Some very stupid decisions. So G2 are going to start the round by fighting A, and so are the defense, but you're going to see that the defense are outnumbered, so they quickly just give it up. They give up the space. It's whatever. I guess I don't need to, like, fight for the death, but with 3 here and you come into the C's, paint shells, I mean, you'd think you commit a little bit more, right, with a neon stun or something. Regardless, it's not really the important part. So eventually G2 clear out Rubble, right? They claim A for their own. And eventually, as the round goes on, I'm going to go and skip forward a lot of it. Eventually, G2 cut noise, right? It threatens the fact that they could leave, they can go into C. But unfortunately for G2, Exeter's holding this line, so the defense are never really going to be convinced that it's C. Maybe B, but there's a device set up here, so most of the defense's attention is geared towards A, right? Makes sense. So this cut of noise for G2 doesn't really work out. So Poppin's trying to spam because Envy know that the offense kind of have to be in this position, right? That's kind of like, that's the best time to spam, is when you know where your enemy is. So we're spamming. The honk gets, thrown or whatever. Door gets open. I'm going to go and skip forward a little bit more. Door gets open. Prowler goes out. And then Poppin just swings and dies on his own. Maybe he's trying to check if the offense are still here, but if that's the case, he still had a haunt. If we look at his utility bar really quick, you're going to see his haunt literally comes online right now. His haunt is online right now. His haunt's here. So if he's trying to, like, confirm that the offense are, like, in this position, he could haunt. And he has 2 teammates here. Fade on a pretty quick rotate to A as well. Why would we throw away our position, why would we throw away our advantage like this? Like, we know that the offense have to be going A, right? But after that kill, the Boombot goes up, and with Vice in B main, Envy's decision is to pivot into B. Now, you're going to see that Raze has walked out, has timing the Boombot to try and find a play, or make a play off of, you know, his teammate dying to make up for it. And you're going to see that Raze, Kazdan, and Demon 1, these two, are going to try and go for like a door pinch, right? We're going to go for a door pinch, the smokes go up, and as soon as Neon takes contact, that's when Raze is going to swing, right? So, Demon 1 gets one, Keza gets one, but gets traded. It's a 3 versus 3. This next 1v1 that's about to happen is pretty big. But the issue I have with it is, yeah, Jogmo hits a nice shot, but it's not hard to hit a Neon when you're that close to her, when you're stuffing the barrel in her head. Watch Demon 1's gameplay here. So, like, he gets one, he sees Raze, like, flinging around. Like, dude, why are we running around? We decided to run around, then slide, and then just go crazy. Like, just keep your gun out. Like, maybe it's at hindsight. Maybe you should have gotten that kill. So, like, maybe that's, like, not that crazy of a mistake. But I feel like we see Raze not with her gun out, right? Like, she's satcheling. And had we killed Omen and, you know, we're committing to this fight with our teammate who's backstabbing them, we would have killed 2, secured secret, 3 versus 2. Like, 3 versus, you know, 3 MD versus 2 G2 members. But that's, like, not even, like, the worst part, right? That's not even, like, the worst part. So, if you watch the minimap, because watch, Eggster, you know, he's pushed out a mound and he sees, like, nothing's here. Eggster's going to tap the door to try and fight this B-split with his team because, you know, Vice is in a good position. They can kind of, like, pinch in a way. And you're going to see him throw his paranoia out, and it hits Vice, right? It hits Vice, but unluckily for Eggster, Vice is, like, tucking on the opposite side of the wall as him, so, like, Eggster's never going to see this Vice. And he sticks around for so long. I'm sorry that I keep pausing and repausing, but it's hard to show all this. The paranoia goes through, and he just sits and waits, and he just 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 waits. Then he TPs in. Why? Like, why don't we just swing right away, like, clear the door, like, why don't we just run in, or why don't we teleport after our paranoia? Why are we teleporting now at the last possible second of the door being open? Were we trying to, like, find, like, a cheeky kill, like, when the door is opening? You know, maybe Vice wouldn't expect me to teleport behind her, but she can hear me teleport, so it doesn't make much sense. That's a 3 versus 1, and Rossi dies. So, I don't know. I don't think... if you're putting... Like, why are we putting Demon 1 on Neon? Why are we putting Eggster on Omen? Why are we doing any of this? Why? I guarantee you these players, these Envy players, do not make the same mistake if you put them on agents that they feel comfortable playing. I bet you Demon 1 just swings with Reyna. I bet you Eggster doesn't look like an idiot. I bet you, I mean, who is this Fade? Poppin'? You might actually swing? I don't know, chat. I don't know what to tell you. The rounds keep getting sillier, and if you want me to VOD review your ranked or premier games, check out the YouTube membership program I have on my main channel, link in the description. It's pretty cheap. You get a VOD review a month from me, and it's only like 20-something bucks. It's real cheap compared to the other TikTok bozos out there that are charging a ton for VOD reviews. So go check it out. Regardless, I skipped ahead in this round a little bit because Envy are on a save, and this is right after their timeout, which is even crazier. They've decided to sack B and C, leave A open for retake, which is all fine and dandy, right? I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. So the defense eventually regroup. They regroup, and they're getting ready to retake. Demon 1 has a Judge and his ult. He Neon ult. He finger blasts Baby Bay. He's swinging out. He gets another one on Jogamo. The Omen line goes in. We get another one on Valen. Now, it is a 4 versus 2. It is a 4 versus 2. We shouldn't win. We shouldn't lose rounds like this. The spike itself is out in the open, and the last 2 remaining G2 players are stuck on Rubble and Tree. So really, it's a 1v4 in Tree right now. So it's a little hairy if you're a G2 fan. But luckily for them, they're playing against Envy. So now Poppin goes to stick the spike. But again, we're facing the same problem that we had last time. When you smoke spike or smoke the choke, and then when you smoke the spike or smoke the choke and then you tap the defuse, it makes the offense freak out. It makes them swing you. It makes them spam. It makes them try to get you off of the defuse because in their mind, they don't know if you're sticking it or whether or not you just got off it. But in this situation, if you look at the top of the screen again, you'll see the spike's not beeping very fast. Why are we sticking it to half? We don't need to stick it to half. What Envy need are guns to fight. They need people to fight. if you look at their buys, they have a sheriff, maybe a judge lying around somewhere, a couple classics. Like, they need to, Envy need to fight. They don't need to get a half right now. What Papa needs to do is tap the spike and either like follow Kesnet to wrap tree or jump into the smoke with Exter and get rid of a double swing Trent while he doesn't have his aim in the right spot, right? But instead we decide to stick the spike, so that's mistake number one. Then Exter is trying to fight right after the spike's been tapped, but they lose and everybody dies. Everybody dies. So instead of tapping the spike and waiting for the offense to swing into us, we decide to swing one at a time. Extra swings up by himself while we're throwing Ray Satchels, which creates a 2 versus 1, which makes Envy lose again. Let's just get the last round over with. So G2 are defaulting A in their 1-4. Vice is holding map control on B and C, while Envy are deciding to fight Mound as 3-1-1. Nothing too crazy. A was left pretty uncontested, so you can see Rossi even takes... I remember this being such a big deal. Look at this. Rossi mid-round, right? As the offense are making all this noise, I guess they didn't make like a ton of noise walking up A, but the haunt's here, and the offensive haunt is here, and the defensive one gets broken. And if you look closely for a second at his face cam, you'll see Rossi takes his hands completely off the keyboard to... like scratch his nose and grab a drink of water. So if the offense decided to go A right now into his setup, they actually would just, get it for free. So I know a lot of people were complaining about that when that first happened, so I just thought I'd point that out, but that's not the main issue of this round. So the offense decided to smoke stairs. They decided to bait out the wall. Good thing, Rossi wasn't drinking water 5 seconds later. Otherwise, he wouldn't have got this spam damage on the Valen. Now, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. The offense decided to cut noise, and Exter uses his ult to clear the space. So they know A is clear. The defense know A is clear as GT are going back C. And that's a problem because if A is clear, that means there's going to be a stack in this part of the map. So what they decide to do is continually make more pressure. So they decide to hit B, hit C. They decide, okay, well, if the defense are going to stack towards B and C, let's give them more of a reason to. So they decide to make pressure all on this side of the map, and eventually they decide to come back to A. Like, that's eventually the offense's plan. They just wanted to make noise here to make A even more weaker. But watch Rossi, right? So, like, he obviously needs to get info down on what's happening in A. And instead of jump spotting or jiggle peeking or just hanging out, he decides to swing and die. So that's not great. Not necessarily the decision you want to make. And I don't know what happened to the rest of his setup. I know the wall got broken, but did he pull his rose back? Well, he popped his thorns and he pulled his rose back, I guess. So he couldn't make a play later in the round if he wanted to. If he had a rose here, this swing would have been a little more justified, but that's not what happened. So the defense decide to rotate over to A. And, down a player, this retake's not looking too good for him. So, now I do have a little bit of a problem with this retake. The biggest tool that this comp has is Omen's Paranoia, because after the Paranoia, Raze can satchel. Again, I don't know where our satchels are. I don't know if we used them earlier or if we're deciding to buy full armor over them, which is a little troll. Oh, God. But that's beside the point. We decided we use our first Raze nade to stop the plant, which is awesome. And it's buying more time for Exter to get over here and start our retake. Now, did Exter start rotating a little too late? Maybe because Vice died, and then we just see like a bunch of Yuto go down. We see a smoke, which you don't really hear. We see Paranoia, a door opening, and then Exter still on C. So maybe this rotate is a little late. Regardless, the nade buys him time to come over. And we just start getting obliterated before our Paranoia can even get here. I mean, I get it. They want to flood in as, like, Envy are planning. But, like, I really wish we tried something off the back of that nade. Like, if we were going to flood in, why not do it with the nade? Or why not do it with the Paranoia? Instead, we decided to flood in when it's neither and lose the game. So, if you want to see an Envy masterclass, or a G2 masterclass, I don't know which one I'm going to put yet, watch this video here. Watch this video right here. Subscribe. Also, if you want me to VOD over your games and get posted on this channel, check out my YouTube membership program on my main channel. Hit that join button, baby. Now.